All right, all right, all right. Hello, everybody. This is Tony Alvarez from Keller Williams Hoover again this week. And like every week, I'm here with my good friend, Andy Gagliano from Gagliano Mortgage. Andy, how you doing today?
Tony, I'm well, sir. How are yourself?
So far, so good. Enjoying this beautiful weather that we have. Although, when it was, I think it was Friday night, Saturday night, Friday night that we have the storm and we got some hail coming out of. I never
Yeah.
been in a hailstorm before, and I saw those hails the size of a golf ball in my
Yeah.
house. It was pretty interesting, scary at the beginning, but then I was like, "What's going on?" You hear all that noise, and it's like, "Is somebody trying to break in? Let me go get my, gun machine and my tank and all the stuff."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was
It,
interesting. I think it was on Friday night. Did you get something like that?
so actually, I think that was Thursday night, this past Thursday. I was actually out of town, so I got back on Friday, and I think the weather Friday evening was pretty nice. But yeah, I missed most of that, and my son bought a house here in Birmingham back in October, and he had a little bit of flooding in his house because of the torrential downpour that we had. So, it's one of those things that happens, but fortunately, it didn't do really any damage, just a little water seepage in through the foundation. And he has, I think, his luxury vinyl in his first flooring in the room that it came in and
Ouch.
went right back out. And so I think it ended up being really, not much of an issue.
Yeah, you're right. I think it was Thursday night. I don't even know what day I'm leaving right now.
I understand. I understand.
Luckily, there was no serious damages as far as I haven't heard anybody. I contact some of my clients and asking if they were fine, if they need a roofer or somebody to go check them out. But
Yeah.
they were saying they were okay. So that's a good thing.
Very good. Yes, absolutely.
So, Andy, let me ask you a couple things. What's going on the interest world right now with the mortgages?
Yeah. So last week we didn't really have any big economic news that came out. So the markets, the bond market, which controls the interest rates, or I should say, which is how or the basis for what rates do, whether they go up or down. The bond market was pretty flat, you know, relatively stable. And so not a whole lot of movement last week. That's a good thing. I'll take a week of stability.
Yeah.
So I can't complain about that. But the week prior, we had a very good week as far as rates go. Rates improved a good bit. We are on the lower end of this new rate range that we've hit here recently. And so now is an amazing time for somebody to jump into the market if they want to do something this year. I think it's as good a time as any, quite honestly. And this coming week, though, we do have a very big economic news release that's coming out on Wednesday, and that is consumer prices. And so consumer prices tell us what inflation is doing. And when that inflation data comes out, if it's stronger than forecasted and it shows inflation is stronger than what has been expected, then we can expect to see the interest rates go up. And the opposite is true. If inflation comes in kind of in line with the forecast or even lower than forecast, we can see the rates come down even more than they did a couple of weeks ago. So a very big economic news week. We also have several Federal Reserve speakers who are going to be giving speeches coming up this week. One of them is going to be Fed Chairman Powell, and that'll be on Tuesday. And so that'll be a big speech as well. I'm not really expecting him to come out with any earth shattering news or revelations about the economy or inflation or anything like that, but you never know what can happen in those situations. So,
Yeah, definitely. We can always be surprised.
yes,
But sometimes no news are good news.
very
I don't
true.
know what you think about it. And I agree with you that right now is a great time to people to jump into buy and then lock those interest rates because we're gonna I keep saying, you're gonna be able to refinance down the road, and you're gonna refinance with whatever mortgage you have at the time, whatever your principal is, as opposed to you waiting for the interest rate to come down. Then you're gonna get a great interest rate, probably yes, but then you're gonna be buying something that is gonna be 10, 15% over to what it is right now. So your payment probably is gonna be more than what you're gonna get right now. So it's just you're buying today's prices. If you wait, you don't know how long it's going to take for the interest rate is going to go down. We don't know if we ever going to go back to the 3%. And let's say you guys are waiting for a 5%, 5.5% interest rate. That probably can happen within the next 3 to 4 to 5 years. There's really nothing that can indicate that it's going to happen immediately. So if you're able to afford a mortgage payment, just jump into the pool right now, get into the house, and you can always refinance later. And that's something that I try to tell everybody, to change that mentality that let's wait for the interest rate. Let's wait for the interest rate.
Yeah, that is so true what you said. And if we just go back in history about 6 months, there were a lot of predictions that interest rates at the end of 2024 would be between 5.5% and 6%. Well, there's really no sign at all that those predictions are going to come true.
Correct.
I think it is entirely feasible that we could see interest rates between 6.5 and 7 by the end of 2024. So for those people who at the end of 2023 said, well, I'm not going to buy until the end of 2024, I'm going to wait on these 5.5% interest rates to come back. What are they waiting on? I mean, now they've missed a year of appreciation of owning real estate. They've missed a year of paying that mortgage balance down. They've missed a year of wealth building, and it's a year you can't get back. That's the
Exactly.
worst part of it.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's a year with a lower balance. It's a year that you already built equity in your home. So waiting for the interest rate to come down, I still believe is wrong. If you qualify for a mortgage, if you can make a mortgage payment, I believe that you should jump into buying a house, because in a year from now, the appreciation is coming up, up, up. Prices are not coming down. And I don't care if your uncle told you that price is coming down. They're not, especially if they're not in the real estate industry like Andy and I. So jump
Yeah.
into it. Now, talking about applying, qualifying, or pre-qualifying, there's a little bit of misconception. I've been talking to some people lately, and they think when they apply for a mortgage, they are qualifying. Is that the same thing? Is different? Or because I know you and I, we know there is a process between applying and qualifying, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So, applying for the mortgage simply starts that mortgage process. It doesn't, it gets the ball rolling, but it doesn't really tell any information. And one of the things that I've discovered that we at Gagliano Mortgage do that's a little bit different than a lot of other mortgage companies is a lot of mortgage companies, when a prospect calls them to talk about getting a mortgage, well, the conversation goes a lot like this. Hey, yeah, my name's Andy Gagliano, and I'll be glad to help you. Let me send you a link to our online application, let you complete that, and then we'll get started on things. What does that tell the buyer? That doesn't tell the buyer anything.
Exactly.
So, what we like to do is we like to have a conversation, just talk about, you know, what are your qualifications? Where do you work? What's your income? What is your debt load? How much money do you have saved? Do you have any idea what your credit scores are? If you do, then can you share those with us? And now we're going to get into the fun part of the conversation, kind of the meat and potatoes of it. What are your goals? Are you are you buying an investment property? Are you buying a primary residence and you're going to live in that primary residence for a period of time? Well, is that a short period of time or a long period of time? Obviously, no one really knows for sure today if they're going to live in that house for 30 years or 3 years. But most of us have a pretty good idea of, hey, I think I'll be there 3 to 7 years. I think I'll be there 5 to 10 years, somewhere in that ballpark. And by us asking those questions, it helps us to be able to really make suggestions about what mortgage options might be best suited for that prospect. And then the other part of that too is once we do get an application completed, now we know what we're working with. We know really, we have an idea of a much more complete picture of what that borrower's circumstances are as far as what their goals are they're trying to achieve with this purchase, because this is not just a purchase of a house. It's a financial investment. It is a
Correct.
tool. It can be part of someone's retirement, as odd as that may sound to people, because some people may say, hey, and we see this happens, it's not unusual at all. They buy a house, start a family, work for 30 years, 35 years, sell the house, and they leave the country. They may go to Costa Rica and retire. They may go to Mexico and retire. They may go wherever and retire. And when they do that, well, they've all this time that they've owned a residence in the US, they've accumulated wealth because of that property appreciating over time and because of them paying that loan balance down, just like what we talked about a minute ago. So that's what these conversations are for, is for us to kind of get a feel of what is it that someone really is trying to accomplish with purchasing this home. If they just complete an application, that doesn't tell us much. We get a
Yeah.
snapshot of their financial picture as of that date, but it doesn't tell us what their dreams and what their goals are, what they want to accomplish in life. And so that's where these conversations become very important. So we'll do that qualification conversation when we initially start speaking with someone. Then from there, if they like the information we're sharing, and we think that we can help them out, we'll direct them over to our online loan application, let them apply, and then get them pre-approved. And that pre-approval is much different than that pre-qualification that we just did by,
Correct.
by just asking them about their income and their debts and their assets. We actually get documentation to verify that information. We'll run their information that's on the application through the automated underwriting system. We'll pull credit, and we'll get someone pre-approved, or at least get a decision made on their loans. So they don't always get pre-approved, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But if we get them pre-approved, then now we can start talking some more definite numbers. And I could say, hey, the most mortgage, the highest mortgage amount you could qualify for is $450,000. I know you were thinking you'd wanted to buy something that was 500,000 or get a mortgage of 500,000 or a little higher, but we're not going to be able to get you approved for that. Or, hey, we can get you approved for 450 and not 500, but if you'll take a little bit of the cash that you were going to use for down payment and pay off a debt, then now we can get you approved for 500. So that pre-approval process is a much more formal, much more in-depth process for us to really be able to go in and pick apart somebody's finances. And I say pick them apart like that's a bad thing, but
No.
I'm saying it in a good way because it gives us more assurance that that buyer is qualified to do what they want to do. And
You
that's
know,
extremely
and
important.
what you're saying is true. We got to know their goals. They had to have some goals, so in that way we can, guide them and get them something. And also, I like what you just said. Use some of the money that you were thinking to use for the down payment to pay off some of the debt, so that way your chances to increase the mortgage that you want to qualify for are higher. A lot of people don't understand that concept very well. And like you said, you want to live in a $500,000 home, but you only qualify for 450, but put in $75,000 down payment. Maybe you can use 25,000 of those 75 to bring your debt down to pay off probably a vehicle, lower a credit card balance, perhaps, and that will increase the chances for you to qualify for that $500,000 home. Correct?
That is that is very true. Very true. Now, some of that's going to depend on the loan program that we go that the prospect, the buyer is applying for.
Yeah.
Because FHA, there's certain conditions on being able to not count debt that's showing up on someone's credit report, and paying off debt to qualify is not really going to work. But a conventional loan, that is totally acceptable. We do that, recommend our buyers do that all the time because you can pay off, just like Tony said, a high interest rate credit card or a car loan where you've got a significant payment. You could pay that off with a little bit of money from your down payment and perhaps get where you need to be. Or, another thing that we recommend sometimes is, let's say you've got 18 months left on your vehicle, you're still paying $1,000 a month. You owe roughly $15,000 on that. You can go refinance that loan.
Mm-hmm.
Go go to your bank, refinance that loan, drop that payment from $1,000 a month, maybe down to 500. And so, there's things like that that can be done to help get someone qualified. And those are the kind of things that, we walk our buyers through just so we can help them to be able to achieve the goals they want to achieve.
Yeah, correct. And now, at which point of the process the buyer gets what is calling known as a loan commitment? When that happen? Because it's not the same than being qualified to obtain a loan commitment.
Yes, that's correct. And so once someone applies, they authorize us to pull their credit and we have them pre-approved, then we can issue what's called a pre-approval letter at that point in time. Now, that is many times all that a seller will want in order to take a contract seriously. As far as a loan commitment goes, some people will call that loan approval or pre-approval a loan commitment. I am going to be a little bit more conservative in saying this. A loan commitment is, in my opinion, in my experience, is given once that buyer's application and supporting documentation has been reviewed by an underwriter. Then we have a loan commitment. It's a little different than a pre-approval. A pre-approval is based on an automated underwriting system's review of information that either the buyer or I have provided. But when we get a set of eyeballs on that information, on those pay stubs, on those bank statements and the W-2s, we get eyeballs on those, then to me, that's a little more firm assurance that that loan is going to be approved. And that's what I call a loan commitment.
Perfect, perfect. So, there you have it, folks. Now we know a little bit what's the difference between pre-qualification, qualification, and what a loan commitment is, what the seller is looking for, and also, some ideas that what you can do with what you're planning to do with your down payment money that maybe can help you bring some of the debt down, and that increase your chances to qualify for a higher mortgage if that's what you desire. And again, just remember this goes case by case. And that's why you need professionals like Andy. Give them a call and let them know, hey, I'm planning to do this. This is my plan. This is my goal. How can you help me? And when Andy help you, then I'm gonna be able to help. So Andy, people that's looking for help, qualify for a mortgage, how can they reach you?
They can reach me by phone at 205 979 4412, and I'm at extension 1. How
There
about
you
you,
go.
Tony?
Well, soon they reach you, you qualify them, and you give me the green light to find in the house or an investment property, whatever they're looking for. They just can call me 205 370 3248. Tony Alvarez from Keller Williams. And Andy, thank you again for being with us this week. And let's see you next week.
Sounds great. Thank you, Tony. I enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
You too. Goodbye.